Hi there folks, and welcome back to another episode of Solar City Garage. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If you're a new viewer and interested in this kind of restoration work, especially on Model T and TT Fords, we're going to do some other cool stuff too. Be sure to like and subscribe and ring that bell. But we appreciate everybody that watches and comments and subscribes. All right, back to business here. We have been busy. A lot of this stuff was done off from camera, just because of, in my opinion, the sheer boredom, but I like to show the finished process here. You can see we've taken our spring shackles. We had to weld them up and turn them down and pick kind of a happy medium size for all of them. They are a little bit smaller than they were originally, but they'll be just fine because we also created new bushings for the perches and for the springs. As you can see here, we have the new steel bushings in there. We also have them pressed into the spring. For bushing material, I bought some DOM tubing. DOM stands for drawn over mandrel. It's very consistent in size. It was thick walled, much like you make a race car chassis out of, just a smaller diameter. I purchased that from Online Metals. No sponsorship. Since I bought a lathe and that, started using their stuff, and they've been good so far. Also, we got the brake cam welded up and turned down. I almost screwed that up because I was thinking about just making this a little smaller, but you can't, because on the end here is where that little piece with the notches presses on. So this all has to maintain the same diameter. So we just welded it up and machined it till that was the case. We got the rear bearings cleaned up here and inspected, and they're fine. And then we have done a tremendous amount of work on the fasteners. Like here are the grease cups. They're all been bead blasted and cleaned up. The dry shaft bolts. The rear cap for the rear end, for the pinion, the radius rod bolts and the brake pins, and then the rear end housing bolts. This is the way I like to do it. I like to keep them bagged separately and labeled. We took and had to drill out, on most all of these, drill out the old cotter key that was rusted into the bolts. We also took a die and ran over all the threads and cleaned them up, and then bead blasted them and kept them organized the best we can. It just makes assembly that much faster. Baggies are cheap. Frustration causes a lot of health problems. But every once in a while we screw up. But anyway, we're going to put the rear end housing halves back together. Normally I paint like these rear end housing bolts before I put it together, but we're not going to do that this time. We're going to put the housing together and paint that as an assembly, and then we'll put the cotter keys in afterwards to get that little bit of contrast. But just because of the weight and the size of that thing, and it's just simpler that way, and that's actually the way it was done in the factory. So anyway, we're going to keep moving on with the video here. Just wanted to show you that we have been busy, and let's see what the next step is. All right, be right back. Okay, folks, we're back. And as you can see, our trend of being busy has continued. We took the rear end housing and bolted it all together, put a new gasket in there. I didn't record that because honestly there's nothing technical there. There's no adjustments, no shims. Everything just bolts together and you're done. Because we had done all the work on cleaning up all the fasteners and had everything ready, it was a piece of cake. Of course, we did paint it afterwards. Did put the cotter keys in, put the rear cap on, new gasket in there, got the safety wire on. Down here, we've got the shackles. We did some finish cutting on those, got them nice and round again. And the perches and the grease cups. We we got those cleaned up and painted as well. So this much of it is ready to go back in the chassis. So we are going to be starting to put nice clean parts back on. Speaking of the chassis, we did get the front cab mounts fitted. We had to re-drill the holes in that, as this particular frame at some point in time in its life had a wood cab on it, so we had to put the steel cab brackets on it. Also, we're working on straightening up the running board brackets, and then we're going to wheel this thing outside and give it a good power wash, and then we're going to just check all the rivets and everything, make sure they're good, and then it's going to turn black too, and then we can start putting things on it permanently. So, all right, we'll hang in there, and next time you see this, it'll probably be clean, and this side of the shop will be a little cleaner too. We got just a lot of stuff going on. All right, stay tuned. Okay, folks, here we are in the chassis, and we're looking at the running board brackets. We're just trying to get everything straightened out that we can before we make this shiny. And as you can see, that this bracket here is clearly bent, as the running board is at rest and square to the frame. You can see that we need to straighten that out. It is bent in the two S's here. So we're going to take that off, and then we're going to put it in the press, and we're going to take some of the curve out. I don't think you can tell the difference, but there's a lot less curvature in the other three. So, all right, we'll get this cut off, get it pushed back, and see how it fits. Okay, we're back, and I guess you could say we're hot off the press. So as you can see, there's no pressure on this punch here. We got it stretched back out. So we took some of the curve out of this one by putting it upside down in the press, pressing on the inside. Took some of the curve out of here by putting it in the press and pushing here to make it come out farther and up. So yeah, it's just sitting on there loose, just with some bolts stuck in the holes. But the running board again is pretty level and is parallel to the frame. Why do we care about that? Because, well, remember, our fender comes down and fastens into these two bolts here. So that would have made our fender kittywampus and just caused us a lot of issue. So that wasn't so bad. I'll tell you, that little piece of channel steel there, Ford made that out of some good stuff. So it's very, very springy, likes to twist, but we got her. So what we'll do, and we'll put that back together. Yes, you can re-hot rivet it back, or cold rivet. I guess you could do either one with an air chisel and a backer. What I like to do is I like to take and make rivet heads from bolts, or sometimes I'll even use a carriage bolt and machine off the little square, and then I can put nuts on the back side. So from where you're looking, it looks like a rivet, but when we go to fit the fender and things like that, if we need to take this back off and do a little more tweaking, then it's pretty easy to do that. Then we aren't going to wreck our frame paint and all that stuff. So you'll see me do those on the body brackets too. It's just simpler, and to be honest, it's easier to keep them tight. So that's just the way I like to do it. If you like to do the whole rivet process, then more power to you. But it's just a happy compromise. All right, on to the next step. Okay, folks, it's time for a little Model TT trivia. So I highly doubt any of you are going to see the problem or know why, but if you do, good for you. Because if you do know, I want you to post it down in the comments. So this is our driver's side running board, and there is something wrong there. This is on the driver's side of the truck, where the battery goes to. Of course, we have a new holder, but just study that for a minute and tell me what's wrong. In a second, I'll go around to the other side and show you to kind of give you a hint. All right, let's go to the other side and take a look. You'll maybe get it now. This is our passenger side. Okay, what's that one thing where it says what doesn't belong here? This side is correct, by the way. So post it down in the comments. Let's go back over and take a look at the one where there's something wrong. And it's not a big deal, but I mean, it's just kind of trivia stuff. And tell me the reason why. And at the end of the video, I'll explain it to you. All right, thanks. Good luck. All right, folks, here we are outside on a balmy 36-degree Wisconsin day. See, we still got some ice on the ground, but we have got it pressure washed twice. I used some Purple Power. I'd never used that before. I'd always been kind of a simple green guy, but to be honest, the hardware store was out. So the Purple Power, honestly, does a good job, straight out of the bottle. You just gotta be sure you rinse it off good. So there, we will let this dry. We're gonna sweep the shop floor where it goes before it comes in, and then we're gonna let it dry inside in the heat, and we'll look for any spots that have any oil remaining, take care of those, lightly scuff it, and get ready to paint it. We haven't done the front axle yet, but I did that on purpose so it was easier to move around. So those are still just kind of rollers there. So, all right, stay tuned. Okay, folks, we're all back inside. Frame and that cleaned up really, really nice. I really like that product. It was called Purple Power. In a town of 500 people, you're kind of limited by what your hardware store has, which we're lucky we have one. But I would say it worked better than the Simple Green. Neither one of them a sponsor, of course. But yeah, I would buy that product again. So good deal. So we're just going to let this frame dry here. We took an air hose and blew in all the crevices and in the spring, leaf springs and stuff, and blew out the rest of it. But we'll kind of recap here what we did. We have assembled the rear end and painted it and put all the bolts and cotter keys in. We new gaskets. We mounted up our cab mounts. We fixed the running board bracket. We got the frame clean and all of that good stuff. So the next thing we're going to do here is paint the frame. And then while that's drying, we'll move on to the dry shaft. We're going to, and the radius rods and the brake rods. Some of the brake rods are pretty bent up. We'll straighten those up and we'll get those ready to put in. But the goal here is we want to get the frame painted and get the rear end back in it before we monkey with the front. All right, well, I think for this episode that'll be enough. Thanks for watching. If you're already subscribed, thank you. If not, please hit that subscribe button. The like button helps too, and then ring that bell for when we get more progress. And as you may notice, every once in a while there's going to be a video that's not Model T related. I know some like that and some don't, but that's just the way it's going to be. Mostly stuff just for entertainment purposes. So anyway, we appreciate you all. Thanks for watching, and we'll see ya. Bye. Okay, answer to the trivia question of what's wrong. Okay, well, you see in the center of the running board, it says Ford. We are facing the front of the Model T. This side says Ford this way, and the other side is the same way. Let's just reach across. See, and there's the front of the Model T, and there's the Ford. So there is a right and left running board. So because you always want to read the Ford going forward. Well, the problem is, see these two holes? That is a right-hand running board. The left-hand running board would have holes on the inboard to hold the battery box. So this has 2 right side running boards. I know it's not a big deal, but it was just something that amused me. And most likely what we're gonna do, we're just gonna drill the 2 holes here, leave them, because who really cares? But just a little trivia, something to watch out for. All right, thanks. If you got it right, good for you. If not, you learned something. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.